Hello Pisces friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Pisces September 2022 Astrology Top 5 Things to Know Horoscope Forecast. This is for you if Pisces is your sun sign, your rising sign, your moon sign, any of the Pisces placements you're watching for. What we're talking about here will be part of your astrological picture. And if you're a very late degree Pisces, so we'll say like March 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degrees to the rest of the sign if you're watching for another placement, then I also suggest you listen to my Aries report. You very late degree friends will benefit from both the Pisces and Aries reports. So what do we have going on in September? I'm going to give you the top 5 things to know. The first big thing to know is that we are starting eclipse season, okay? So I have been giving you the update monthly where we're at in the eclipse cycle. In July and August, we had a reprieve in between the cycles. And now in September, we are beginning eclipse season. The Taurus-Scorpio eclipse cycle continues with eclipses in October and November. And we're talking about this now in September because eclipse season wakes up 4 to 6 weeks before the first eclipse. So that is most of September. And what does eclipse season mean? It means that it is ripe time for the big dramatic goodbyes, the big dramatic hellos, the wonderful doors opening, doors closing, final non-negotiable endings, trajectory shifts, and sometimes, very surprising, jostling news. And sometimes it's things that you've been working for a long time finally gelling. But it can be very, very intense, and you can feel like your finger's stuck in an electric socket for a few months. There's some anxiety, there's that feeling of foreboding. And so I wanted to explain that so that when you start feeling it, then you know, instead of saying, why am I feeling this way? You know that it's because the eclipse season is heating up. Okay, so that's the first big must know, and one of the top 5 things of this month that I want to make sure you remember. Now, I will be talking about where those eclipses are going to hit for you in the October and November reports. But from the general astrology standpoint, all the zodiac signs will continue to see storylines between you and your relationship, like your partnership, me versus we, and the stuff, like my stuff versus your stuff versus our stuff. Okay, so that is a theme that you will continue to see getting very strong this month and escalating into October and November. Okay, so the next big must know is that we have a period of time now that I've been kind of warning you about for a very long time, which is an extended period of time where the astrological tides are rolling in. Okay, so astrological tides I use to describe different aspects of astrology, but very often I'm talking about the personal planets and their retrograde or direct motions. Personal planets are the ones closest to us, and the ones that go retrograde are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. So when those planets are direct, there's sort of this energy of pushing forward, and we're actually, and the time I'm recording this, so June 19th through August 21st, we're in the last open period before this extended retrograde. So if you're listening to this early, then you've still got some time to push major things forward, which I explain at length, in the videos current for each of these months. But basically, the direct time is a time to push forward, a time to actively weave your web, a time to put your boat out to sea, big launches, big moves, everything kind of looking to the future, planning, all of those kind of things. But once we get into September, from September well into 2023, so really strong through the end of February and starting to wane finally as we get into mid-March of 2023, is a retrograde cycle where Mars retrograde is going to encompass that whole time, and we'll have multiple Mercury retrogrades during that time as well. So it's nothing to fear, but you do have to be aware that September, and for a while to follow, is not going to be a time to force things. It's not going to be a time, because if you force things, you will get frustrated and you're not going to get to where you're trying to get anyway. It's a time to honor the flow, to experiment, and there are lots of other things you can do. And I'm going to give you a quick list of things that are great for September, which will also be great for the months to come, to make the most use of the energy, okay? So just basically imagine that you want to deal with things as close to you and right in your face as possible. Whereas the direct time, we can plan, we're pushing forward, we have clarity, we're, extending out far and wide. And in this space, in the retrograde space, things are closer to your physical body. You're basically dealing with things as they come up, trying to leave yourself as unscheduled as possible because plans are much more likely to change. And you can focus on a lot of things, and it's really great for some things. Okay, so let me give you my list. It's an amazing time. September's an amazing time for staycations. It's not that you can't travel, you can, and some travel may come up. But as far as planning, planning and attending to details might be a little bit difficult now. So it's amazing. The retrograde cycle is amazing for staycations, staying home, getting things done in your list, clearing out clutter, and those kind of things. If you have to travel, then sometimes last minute travel might pop up, and that can be amazing. Just, flexible travel is going to be a little bit easier, and short-term or random kind of coming in all of a sudden might be more favorable than trying to make a plan at this time. September is also an amazing month to indulge in hobbies and fun. Okay, you might get some last-minute invites, and if you have your schedule open, then you can say yes. This is also an amazing time to reap the rewards of past work. So things you've done in the past might roll into you on the tides. And I really love to use that visual. If you just kind of imagine that you're on a beach and the tides are coming in September and beyond. And so you're sitting there and you're just kind of sitting with wonder and awe, looking at the things that are brought in. Some garbage comes in, that could be annoying, but some creatures, sea life and different kinds of, messages in a bottle or whatever I always like to say. You're just kind of sitting there hanging out while the things come to you. And so incoming on those tides could be a lot of rewards for past work. Of course, the retrogrades in this month, September, is an amazing time to revise or edit or to try things on that are experimental. It's an amazing time for inner work where you're working on your spiritual development, your psychological development. And indeed, the retrogrades do tend to bring up things that are patterns that we have that get swept under the rug during the direct time, and the retrogrades tend to bring them back. So if you have that pattern with your kid, that pattern with your mom, that pattern with your partner, this might be a time to actually take some action into the underlying reason why this keeps coming up. And so it's really, really great for things like that. Anything that's low stakes or short term, like you have a small project around the house, you've got to fix things, you've got to deal with maintenance stuff, just kind of basically dealing with things that are squeaking for attention. Those are the things that are really good for now. Continuing things that are already launched. This is another thing that's great for September, where you can just kind of go along as you've been going along and just making little improvements, making little revisions. And it's an amazing time to study and learn and explore, okay, and do research. So if you're trying to plan for a big future thing, it's not really the best for the planning as far as setting it in motion and making commitments, but it is an amazing time to research, affirm, do things that can help you prepare to do something big in the future. You're kind of doing things in the backdrop, and it's amazing for that. So anything that has to do with inner work, like I mentioned before, is important because Mars retrograde will tend to bring up aggravation. Okay, so Mars doesn't go retrograde until October 30th. It's retrograde until January 12th. But again, we're talking about this now in September because you will start feeling this. I promise, if you're looking out for it, you will see it either in yourself or in others around you, because the shadow period for Mars retrograde, which is the period of time where the degree that it's going to go retrograde at stalls out for a while, that begins at the beginning of September. So the whole month is deepening into this Mars retrograde. And Mars rules action and impetus and oomph. It also rules, just those forces that give us that initiate, the tendency to initiate and to begin. So if you're trying to force things, the keynote of Mars retrograde tends to be frustration. So if you notice you're getting frustrated, it might be time to just kind of back off and just observe and see where Spirit wants you to direct your energies. It can bring up a lot of aggravation, and you might need some tending to your liver or your gallbladder. Of course, I'm not a doctor and I'm not recommending any medical things, but from the astrological perspective, I do see with the energy of anger, a lot of times we do have some congestion in our physiological space as well as, it connects to the emotional space. So if that's relevant for you, then you can, look to your qualified practitioners or do your own research. But it's possible you might have some trouble there. You might notice that you're having some trouble digesting fat, which, the gallbladder has to do with, and these kind of things. And that type of congestion can actually cause you to feel more aggravated and look for reasons to be aggravated when there really isn't any. Okay, so all of this is really good to focus on at this time, and you will find that it will be very fruitful. Okay, so the third big must know, or big top thing to know out of my list of 5, is we want to talk about where these personal planets are moving and what fields of experience that is lighting up for you. Okay, so the Sun is in Virgo, Venus is going to get in Virgo, and Mercury is going to retrograde back into Virgo. So that's a tremendous amount of Virgo energy. So that's going to give a lot of focus for detail-oriented projects, for anything that requires persistence, focus, anything where you need to have a system or creation of systems or creations of organization, kind of getting back to task and building new systems or revising old ones. So you'll notice that that's going to come up. And for Pisces, the first thing that happens is that these planets are going to oppose your sign. So what that means is that, again, this me-we sector, this is another layer of me-we that's being brought up for Pisces people. You versus other people, your energy versus them, setting boundaries, getting deeper into relationships, or getting deeper into your relationship with yourself. Your sectors that have to do with you versus other people are lit up, and you might find that there are some things that are at odds with one another. You're being pulled in 2 different directions, and you can access your superhero self with these oppositions, which I always like to suggest, where you've got all the balls in the air, you're doing your own stuff, you're doing the stuff for everybody else, you got everything going in a really good way, and that could happen. You could get into a really good flow with this. The other thing that's very important is that as these planets are moving through the 7th house, which is the partnership house, and this is going to be a couple of months of this type of focus, your partnerships are going to be in the spotlight. Literally, the sun will spotlight them. So the sun, just like a light in a dark room, will bring your attention to the things that need attention, like a crack in the wall, a crack in the paint, some spider webs, right? Or it can show you how lovely the colors are in that room. So you might see the virtues of a space or relationship that you're in, or you might see the places that need a little work, and the retrograde time is actually a really good time to do work. So things like couples counseling, individual counseling, anything like that, where you're just sort of focusing on being your best self. And if your partner's on the same page, or a relative's on the same page, where you can focus on being your best selves together. So this is a very active time for engaging with other people, and you might find that some important people come to you now or come back to you from the past, because the retrograde tends to bring these things in on the tides, and the relationship space is getting highlighted for you for a lot of different reasons. So if you need help with something, if you need more clients, anything having to do with interacting with other people, if you want to get into work that is, very client-based, or you already have work that way, then these types of things will really shine at this time and take front and center. Okay, so the next on my top list of things to know is that this is still under the division of the current planet, so this is still number 3, is that Mars, as I talked about, is going to be in retrograde, but it's going to be retrograde in the sign of Gemini for a very extended period of time. So usually it's not in a sign for very long, but it's retrograde in Gemini, which means that for a very long time, certainly the rest of this year and into next year, you're going to have this particular aspect, and that's going to bring up 2 important things for Pisces. Okay, so Pisces people are going to have their house area, home, family, real estate, housing sector really accentuated by Mars. Okay, so things that you're working on in those areas might tend to stall out, or you might have to take those things front and center, but there's going to be a very extended period of time where you're sort of gung-ho either on trying to move or figuring out where you're going to move, or something with housing or something with your family. And and there are going to be a lot of opportunities there to resolve things. And this is a pressure point. This is making a 90-degree angle. So for an extended period of time, you've got home and family on your mind, and it will be really, really calling out for some attention. So if you can take your attention off of other things that might be distracting you and put it, pool it into your family, pool it into your housing, that's one of the areas that's going to be very, very active now for September and for a while to come. Okay, so the next on my list, my top 5 things to know, is that we do have equal sweet and salty aspects this month from the planets that I'm looking at for the report. So that, first of all, means your perspective or how you handle things can really change, like to flip the switch to how you experience this month. And knowing all of the things I'm sharing with you in this video can really be part of that, because if you understand how to align your energies, you can flip over to the positive side and have quite an enjoyable, easy time. So that's the first thing to know about point 4. The next thing, and the thing I'm most excited to tell you about, is that we actually have 6 trines this month. Trines are the most favorable aspect in all of astrology. I like to call them astro kisses, and I like to focus on where they're going to be and what goodies you can get from them. And the good news is that of these 6 trines, 5 of them are in Earth. So that means they're making favorable angles for Pisces. All of them are. Okay, so we're going to have the Sun and Mercury and Venus connect with Pluto. And so in the dates from September 11th through September 28th, we're going to have all of these trines, okay? And so in that time, there are just 5 glorious chances for kisses, and everyone in the zodiac can get those kisses, especially anyone having a placement in earth or water is going to get extra kisses from those placements. And this has to do with Pluto, okay? And it has to do with the planet. All right, so we'll just take it piece by piece. So the Sun, Mercury, and Venus. The Sun lights up and brings vitality. Mercury has to do with communication and interactions as far as travel and social situations, news, writing, creative efforts. Venus rules love, beauty, and money. Okay, so all of those things, and self-esteem. Then Pluto is the great transformer and the bringer of resources. So resources coming to you, ideas coming to you, cooperation coming to you, all of these things, especially in the second part, from September 11th or so on, you're getting those kisses. Now, everybody can get a kiss from this, but if you are in the late degree sector, so the same people who I suggested that you also listen to the Aries report, those of you are also the ones that will get the biggest kisses from the 3 Pluto Earth trines, okay? So that's going to be basically 21 degrees through the rest of the sign, and the closer to 26 degrees, the more you get kisses from all 3 of those trines. Now, the Uranus trine, series of trines, that's going to have to do with the Sun, and then Venus is going to make a trine with Uranus, okay? And this is, again, Venus, love, beauty, money. The Sun brings vitality and, lights up everything. And then Uranus is the planet of surprises and unique ideas and versatility and, maybe eccentricities that can flow over into brilliance. So everyone will get these goodies. So for the kisses with the Pluto trine, those of you who are 21 degrees through the rest of the sign and the closer to 26 degrees, the more of a kiss you'll get. And that equates to, for the birthdays, March 11th through the rest of the sign. And so like March 17th, days around there, you'll get the biggest kisses. Now for the Uranus connections, those are 18 degrees. And so we'll say like 13 degrees through 23 degrees. So those are going to be like March 3rd through March 13th, and the more you're close to like the 8th of March, the more of the kisses you get from that one. We do also have an additional Mars trine with Saturn at the end of the month, and you'll get kisses from that as well. Okay, so the last on my list of 5 top things to know for this month is I want to just give a little attention to Saturn. Saturn has been moving for an extended period of time through your 12th house, and many Pisces could have been experiencing sadness, grief, depression, heaviness in your mind, more mind chatter than usual, and it can be quite heavy. And so I just want to, first of all, explain it, because sometimes understanding it can really, really help the process when you know there's a reason for it and it's, not random. The second thing is that what Saturn wants from you is for you to master your mind. Okay, so anytime you feel yourself going down an abyss of emotion, Saturn wants you to have a system to solidify yourself, to stop the drop, because indulging in what's the word I want to use? Unproductive emotions, because obviously emotions are wonderful. Gives us our sentience, and Pisces knows that, better than most signs, right? You're very in touch with your feelings. But when it becomes unproductive, if you're thinking or feeling too much and you're going into the abyss, or going into addictions or something like that, avoidance, escapism, then Saturn wants you to build systems that are healthy through nutrition, through meditation, through, psychological practices that you build, where you have your go-to, where you notice the warning signs. Hey, I'm starting to slip and I need to get into this system. Or you might actually just need help from somebody else, like a professional. If you've been trying to battle certain things on your own, I had a situation where I had an aspect that was afflicting in my 12th house, and it was coinciding with a massive amount of grief from someone close to me passing. And I was, I'm an optimist, I'm a Sag, I'm usually very happy I was going on with my life, but I was really, really struggling. And finally, my husband said to me, Annie, I think you need to have someone, help you with this, because I'm so into my self-development that sometimes, I forget that I can also ask for help, right? So I did. I reached out to a friend who does NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and after one session, I actually was able to get to a manageable level of dealing with the grief that I had. I'm not saying that, that will be your same results or anything like that. I'm just giving an example of when I've had this experience that I was suffering with it for so long, but as soon as I reached out for someone that dealt with those things, she was, did grief counseling and did modalities that help with that, it really changed things for me. So I just mentioned that in case you are a Pisces that's struggling with any of these things in the short term or the long term, that maybe some of these things could assist you to get back to yourself, or get to the highest version of yourself that is more happy. Okay, so I've given you lots to work with to help you make the most of the energies this month, and to help you understand the energetic patterns at work and play. And if you'd like more resources, I've got all of these here. You can additionally go to the little more button, the little arrow underneath the bottom right of the video. Click on that, and all of the links that I'm giving you here will be clickable, right? So if you're looking for reading options, including a beautiful, very detailed 45-minute audio of your birth chart for $33 from my brilliant husband, you can find that at anniebclarity.com. You can go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter. This is where you can access running a free birth chart. This is where you access my 28-day in-depth virtual coaching program called Shine for free. This is also where you'll find tons of blogs, and you get lots of other perks for being on my newsletter list. If you're looking for written horoscopes by me, always up a month early, you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you haven't seen this site, go to it. It is so beautiful. We've got, me and my team have lots of amazing astrology-inspired blogs and healthy living blogs. We've got hypnosis for all the signs. We've got healing frequencies for all the signs. I've got the written horoscopes that I write. We have yoga for all the signs. So it's just a very beautiful, comprehensive site. If you're looking for free courses on how to manifest money and wellness, you can go to lumlife.com, my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, LUMLIFE. You can also find my astrology education courses here, including my behemoth of a master course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course, which you can fully utilize even if you don't want to be a professional astrologer, but it certainly will get you up to the level where you could be and show you how to make your business a success. And payment plans are available there too. Now, I've also got 2 books out and more on the way. Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. You will find this on the bookshelves in all major booksellers, including all the Books A Million, all the Barnes & Nobles. It's right there on the shelf. Plus, you can get it on Amazon and through any independent bookseller. And you can find Radical Prayer on Amazon, and you can order it anywhere as well. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye!